Okay, this is the start of today's stream. And today we're going to be using Co-Creator, the writing AI, to create content for Dream Lounge, which is the app where we can make interactive fiction, make branching narratives, and invite authors to join our stories. So I am starting a story that is going to be a really sort of like dispersed storytelling model where it's like the fantastical journey of Laika, the dog who was sent into space as part of like the whole space race. And essentially she was like a mutt from the street who was captured and put in the spaceship in the shuttle to see if like an advanced being could survive in space. And we're going to take it to a speculative direction and write about her journey in space. And so the idea of this is that like she is running out of oxygen, she's heating up, she's going to die after a certain while. But it's a little bit like The Little Prince, where she's visiting these fantastical places along the way. So let's get started in Dream Lounge. Okay, write a new story. And we're going to call this Laika's Journey. We're going to say hashtag sci-fi, speculative, fantasy. Maybe I'll do a spec fic here. And basically I'm hoping that as writers are invited into this story, they can take their own direction for Laika's journey, and that readers will be able to pick whatever path they think is most interesting. And so the idea is that because this is a branching narrative, there's many genres the story can go. So let me try to describe that in here. So what's the short description for our story? It's like a collective telling of Laika's adventures. Laika has been sent into space to die. As she as the end approaches, there seems to be more to explore. This is a terrible description. As the end approaches, there seems to be more to explore. Let's craft Laika's journey together. Inspirations. I found that when I'm browsing through these, I like to look for what genre the book is. So because this description is terrible, I'm going to put some inspiration so people can help. The Little Prince, Gulliver's Travels, Phantom Toll Booth. Okay, great. So I'm going to put in the first scene. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, actually. It's an introductory scene showing Laika kind of setting up that she is on the shuttle and she's slowly dying. Well, it seems like I do have to enter something here because otherwise it will not let me save my story. So let me just type the opening scene and let's see where it'll go. They gave me a name, Laika. They gave me a shuttle and not enough oxygen and no hope. 4 times I have traveled around the blue orb I spelled it the British way. Travel around the blue orb that I used to call home. Home. And with each loop, my tongue grows more swollen and dry. And I begin to wonder whether the motion is the shuttle or my own dizziness. Okay, so that's kind of the opening, Laika's dying. And through the circle of the shuttle, I see a smaller, bright orb. Could it be? This is kind of a placeholder. First page of our story is created. Now please choose your new story from the drop-down box to continue. So now this is like a story that has been saved in the system, and we can select scenes from here to add more, to create a sub-branch, to edit. And so here's my idea. Let's create a new document and co-create it. Laika's journey. I am going to make it, again, a little bit the Little Prince style, where there's like all these planets that she's visiting, and each one kind of has a different concept, and I just want to make the most interesting world build. So I've thought of this planet where there are these lonely sentinels who are left behind. They were meant to guard a place where there was many people, something that was really lively and special, but something happened, and now everything's gone. But these sentinels are left to still stand guard, and they're kind of purposeless, mechanical, and lonely. And so that's my idea. I don't quite know the details, like what happened to these people. I'm thinking of like a climate disaster, and I need to figure out some of the details of the world. So we're going to do both some AI writing and some AI writing and some image generation, if I can get it to work. So we'll see about that. So I'm going to log in quickly. I'm going to be right back. Okay, I'm back. And thank you for the follow. MCWIL. Oh my gosh, I didn't even enter the right password. Okay. You would think with the number of times that I've done this that I would have figured out to log in before all this happened. But it is what it is. Okay. So, for anyone who hasn't seen this before, so I have so many AIs here, but these are, this one takes text prompts and it generates an array of images from it. So I kind of want to generate something based on this like lonely sentinels mood. And I've actually already made, some animations with a similar technology. Oh wait, no, this is my spooky one. This is the one. This is kind of in the style of Dark Souls. But I like this sort of like haunted, lonely, left behind idea. So I have been a little bit inspired by Dark Souls here. So let's see. What do we want to do? Firstly, I want to take the keywords that I used for this Sentinels prompt. So let's see, that's Lonely Sentinel, and I had 2 versions of this. Look at these images, they look so cool. even if you don't want an animation, you could take this and like make this something. Let's keep looking. Okay. We go all the way down. This is a text file with my settings, so it has the word prompt I used. Let's see. Oh my goodness, this construction. My apologies. I'm going to close this window right quick. And we're back. Let's see. Also, MC, if you have any ideas for like image inspirations, the AI also takes images and it'll like incorporate that as part of the generation. So if you have any like text or image inspiration, we can include that in here. Okay, so this is the right one. I am going to enter the settings. Okay, so this is the text prompt. Golden Knights. I think night is gonna make it look like actually like a night, like too much like this. So I don't quite want that. I am going to get, okay, hauntingly sad that is isolated in the style of Dark Souls. I like these. So the other AI used this like line to separate the prompts. This one uses commas. And what else? Yeah, I like in saturated colors because I think things can be sad and also have colors. So let's see, initial image prompt. Maybe I'll take my own initial image. Yeah, so the website that hosts these AIs, so there's multiple. The main one that I'm an ambassador for. This one's Co-Creator, co-creator.ai, but it's currently in closed beta. So in November, it should go into open beta. I'm not sure if there would be a subscription fee, but I believe there's not yet. So I'll kind of show you how it goes in a bit. These two I've gotten through Patreon. Let's see if we can find it. So there's a $5 a month fee to use the tool. But given what it is, Words Racer, given what it is, I think it's worth the $5. So this is kind of the situation. $5 gets you access to beta notebooks, and these are the notebooks where you can enter in, your different settings and data, and you also get to go to the Discord. So this is what I got from Patreon. This was a tool that someone else made in the Discord. Okay, style of Dark Souls saturated color. We're gonna put in some image prompts, and I'm going to use my own image. Let's see. Actually, that's a lot. So I'm just gonna call this Sentinels, Leica Sentinels for the project, and we'll just see how this goes. So we're gonna run this notebook. Oh, too many active sessions. I think I'm gonna terminate this one. Let's try this again. Okay, it seems like, yeah, that's no longer an issue. And then I'm gonna have to wait for this to link to my Google Drive. I also have an animation going here that seems like it kind of stopped. Seems fine actually. Okay. Cool. Okay. Let's link my Google Drive. Copy. And now that's how the images are being saved to my Google Drive. It's because I've linked it in these notebooks. And yeah, so let's see how this goes. I don't quite know how to use this one as well as I know how to use the other ones. So hopefully it'll give us some inspiration as we're making this. Okay, so now to the Text AI co-creator. Let's see. I want to write. There's two things I can do with co-creator. I can use it to world build and continue to kind of like get a sense of what these sentinels are, what they're doing. I can also use it to write the scene that will actually start this world. And I think that I want to wait for these images to generate to get a sense of like the mood and the tone of the space. So instead, maybe I'll just kind of figure out the beginning of how we're touching down into this area. So here's some things that I've already written that I'm translating here. The brown sands spread over the planet. The brown sands pile into mounds that fold like the skin on the insides of joints. The brown sands slip into piles that rise and fade from the wind like breaths from the lungs of some forgotten beast. Let's see. The sands swirl as the shuttle slowly lowers down. Some trouble I'm having right here is like how much realism I want to add. Part of this, the genre of this like piece of writing with the Phantom Tollbooth and with the Little Prince and Gulliver's Travels, it's kind of fantastical. It doesn't really explain how these things occur, but I do want to have some like fidelity just in case we have people who like care about that sort of thing. And I'm sure the cool thing about Dream Lounge is that you can invite multiple authors to contribute to your story, and they can create their own branches. So if someone has a lot of technical knowledge, they can actually write that in. So I'm just gonna do a bare bit of research and just make sure that, you know, I'm not saying anything egregiously wrong, but it's not that important. So this is Sputnik 2. Removing some flight control components. Let's see. It doesn't really seem like, well, so I didn't really think the Wikipedia article would have much information on what, like how it would fly and land. So I guess this is probably not the right resource to use. It's important to like, you know, do the right types of research. So I'm gonna say like how to land space shuttle, or like considerations of landing a space shuttle. Interesting engineering. Okay, difficult in re-entry. It has to slow down really quickly, and parts can get heated up. Let's see. This is also very technical. Nope, I don't want engineering news. I'm not an engineer. Thank you. Okay. In this case, it's also important to know when to stop doing research and when to be like, I'm just going to write this thing. So, co-creator is going to help us. If there's gaps in our information, it will fill it in. Shuttle slowly lowers down. The heat of the shuttle blasts sand into glass. Maybe even as the heat of the shuttle blasts sand into glass, curtains of brown fly out from underneath. The speed and heat of the shuttle. I'm trying to think, as the shuttle's landing, it's like all that air and stuff is like blasting away the sand, and it's almost digging a little, it's like pushing it away. The only dried gray branches stick out from where? Stick out. Dried gray branches remain in their places, buried deep under the dunes. Maybe we're taking a little Dune inspiration with the movie coming out. Okay. Very deep under the dunes. The shuttle completes its landing procedure, and the door opens with a series of grinds. My spacesuit. This is, I guess this is kind of in the middle of action. I would have talked about, like, and the previous scene might have been like, I put on my space suit. There is only so much oxygen I can carry. So this is kind of like the pre-landing procedure that maybe I'll include in the first scene, and then people can write what happens from there. Door opens with a series of grinds. The heat immediately grabs me. Heat immediately envelops me in its grasp. In the distance, I see a glint of color in a brown structure. A building, maybe? Inset with gemstones, I imagine, for that bright burst of red. I decide to head forward. You know what? actually, maybe there's like multiple stimuli here. There's a building far away. There is like this claw closer by, and then readers in this interactive fiction app, they can choose which one they want to focus on. So the first thing they can investigate is this building. As I step forward, I notice that what I thought were branches are in fact dried fingers jutting out from underneath the sand. And then we can have two scenes here where they can either choose to go forward, choose to investigate building, or they can choose to investigate fingers. And even though this is a branching narrative, one isn't necessarily excluding the other. So they could see the fingers and then see the building, or see the building and then see the fingers. Although I will say, yeah, we'll figure that out. But if they choose to investigate the building or the fingers, let's see. I noticed that. Let's have a co-creator generate this, because I don't really have any idea of what I want to happen. Some of the fingers are bloodied, some of them are blackened. The fingers are not all that different from those of my own species, or the fingers are beginning to move just barely. This is interesting. The middle one is picking up on the fact that we are in space. So it seems like it's getting some of the genre there. Can you draw? I actually can draw. Yeah, I mostly paint. I do a lot of visual art as well, but I'm a hobbyist. Okay, fingers are beginning to move. Oh my gosh, wait, MC, is that you, Michael? I think I just made the connection. Some of them are bloody, some of them are blackened. The fingers are beginning to move just barely. I feel like this last one is kind of going into a genre that I don't quite want to go into yet. But this could be interesting for someone else to get into. So maybe I could make an empty scene with that title and like have someone else write it. That could be an interesting feature. I'm going to write that down as a feature request. Let's see. Empty scene that someone else can write. I'm still testing out the collaborative features of Dream Lounge, so I haven't added things to other people's stories yet. So maybe that exists already. I'll have to test it out. Let's see. Some of them are bloodied, some of them are blackened. This is the most interesting to me because that can explain what happened to the people who are living on this planet. And that's something that I'm really hoping co-creator can help with. Just, I have this outline of idea, it can fill in the details. Yes, just another viewer. I noticed that some of the fingers are bloodied, some of them blackened. Also going to write in here, yeah, the next version of co-creator is going to have some, like a notes section, which I would love to use right now, because I want to write in the fingers are starting to move, but I don't necessarily want the AI to pick up on that and generate things. So let's try this. Let's just hit co-create and see what happens. Meanwhile, I'm going to check out this. Oh my gosh, I forgot. I usually generate in batches like 16. I think right now I'm generating like, 200. So, oh, this is quite colorful though. Yeah, I don't quite know how to get this tool to look a little more like something intelligible to me. So actually, I'm just going to check real quick to see how these images are going. If not, I'm going to stop this. This is kind of cool. Like this one is usable. Like I kind of see a figure here, and it looks like trees in the background. This one, something's happening. I don't know what's happening. This one's interesting. I kind of like the scenery, but this is a desert. So we're actually going to stop this real quick. Please stop. And I'm going to add, stop. Okay, now it's stopped. Desert. Okay. I'm going to start generating again. I'm not going to generate 200. I'm going to generate 20. And I like to be a little more organized here. So the ones where I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, I'm just going to delete. Okay, so these are kind of interesting. Boop, boop, boop. Let's go. So hopefully desert is going to change this bit. Now back to this AI. I feel like whenever I'm waiting for one AI to generate, I'm always like jumping back and forth. I hope it's not too confusing. Okay. Ooh, okay. I notice that some of the fingers are bloodied, some of them blackened. I see the glint again and step forward towards it. So now it's taking the glint from the other path that we had, and now it's adding it here. That's interesting. I find a large collection of jewelry inside the building. Many are rings, some are necklaces, some are bracelets. They are all made of gold. I pause for a moment to take in their beauty. The fingers are still shifting. The wind is starting to pick up. I leave the building and approach one of the fingers. It shifts slightly under my weight, but not enough to disturb the sand on top of it. The wind is blowing harder now, and more dust is flying across the surface of the planet. I dig through the sand with my hands, trying to find the source of the blood. This is interesting. It's not quite coherent, but it's very interesting. Okay. I'm going to move this to the building section. Large collection of jewelry inside. Yeah, that seems like, within the genre of like finding a building in the desert, it's like jewelry. Maybe it could go away, to show the opulence of this desert group before everything disappeared. Fingers are still shifting. I think this is interesting to have the character stand on top of the fingers, because that makes me think of like giant fingers. It makes me think of like Norse mythology or Skyrim, where to go to like Valhalla, I think it is, you go across like this giant whale skeleton. Whatever, I just remember the scene from Skyrim. I'm sure it's based on real mythology that I can't remember. But just thinking of like giant fingers sticking out, I thought they were like small fingers, like twigs. Huge fingers are interesting. Not for right now, but I want to put this somewhere. You know what I'm thinking? Okay. I'm going to make some more branches here, and I'm going to store the most interesting parts of what co-creator's generating in here. So we're going to call this desert. Okay, good. I did not type dessert. Branch name. Let's see. Landing. So there's desert. We're landing on the desert. We're going to add a branch that's desert, and we're going to say huge fingers. And so I'm not going to publish this branch, so it's not going to be available to the public right now. But I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in, oh wait, no, wrong scene. I'm going to put it in this scene so that we can have it for later and we can have like huge fingers out of the ground. I like this idea of maybe this is a planet where like just everyone got buried under sand and all of their fingers are sticking out. Like there's normal sized people and then there's a huge people. Let's also look at these images. This is kind of interesting. This feels like, yeah, it's like a car in a dump yard, maybe cars in the background too. This, I don't know what's happening here, but this is kind of cute. It's like someone's like dino. These are interesting. Okay. Again, not quite what I'm thinking, but we'll see. It's gonna generate a bunch. Okay. Some of them are blackened. Let's generate again. Choose to investigate rings. Not quite, not quite. Choose to investigate fingers. Fingers have begun to close and they've begun to move towards me. They don't have much traction, but they do have a lot of momentum. Going to have to use my spacesuit to protect myself from being crushed by these fingers. You know, actually, that's kind of interesting for the huge finger section. Like, maybe the huge fingers can crush you somehow. So I'm throwing that in Dream Lounge. Some are missing pieces. Some missing pieces. Let's edit this a little more so co-creator has a little bit more to go off of. Are darkly stained from old blood. Some of them blackened. Some of them are missing pieces. I wonder what has happened here. Is it? Okay, multiple choice. An accident or attack? Is it a burial site? Ooh. The work of some forgotten animal or the result of some ancient battle. Oh my gosh. Actually, yeah, giant fingers villain arc. That's actually kind of a cool idea, like giant fingers coming out from under the sand, like grabbing you. Oh my gosh, okay. Wait, I have to add this in. Giant fingers come from under the sand to grab you. If y'all have ever seen that, they're towards the end of the story of the newer God of War that is not the one that is currently coming out. There's a really cool part with a giant. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's very cool. So maybe the huge fingers will be inspired from here. But this is really interesting. I really like what co-creator is generating right now because I like all of these things and these could all be branches that come off of this. So something about the fact that I've been saying like choose to investigate, and also like the is it structure has led to co-creator generating really interesting things. So let's see. There's a thing I like about tabletop roleplay where whatever players choose to investigate, the story then becomes about. So it's a lot of like there's different styles of tabletop roleplay, of course, but there's one style in which the game master creates everything beforehand, and then players just follow that, and that's kind of called railroading because you're just following the tracks. And there's also other styles in which it's much more improvised, and you can, yeah, like it's kind of a call and response format where the player says, I want to investigate this, and then the game master makes the game about that. And that's something I really enjoy, the latter. And so, yeah, I like these two better. Maybe the work of some forgotten animal, that can lead into like the huge finger villain thing. So I think the burial site and the work of some ancient creature or ancient battle are three interesting ways to go. So I'm not actually gonna, I guess I'll click on this one and then I'll add a burial site. Okay. Battle for a burial site. So these give three different ways that this civilization could have disappeared. This is actually a lot more rich than I thought it was. Like, I thought it would just be like, oh, I look at the fingers, they're interesting, people are dead, and then we move on to the building. But there's actually so much richness here. There's so many ways this story could go. Okay. Although I will say this, choose to investigate fingers, it seems like this is kind of short for a scene. So we can see that Dream Lounge is like structured into these little scenes. I feel like it might be annoying to be reading that tiny bit and then have to choose an option. But for now, I mean, we can always develop this out later. I'm more interested in the possibilities right now than I am in like really building this out with like a thick trunk. So let's see. So we're going to create a sub branch. We're going to say desert choose to investigate fingers. Okay, here I pasted it in, and now we can give people three options from here. Something that I'm thinking about as I'm writing this interactive fiction is that every choice that the reader can click on should sound interesting. It should either, if there's one, there can be one choice that advances the plot, or there can be multiple choices, but they have to have some sort of promise or reward. Like, something I was considering was that an interesting reveal here is that it looks like branches, but then it's actually fingers of a dead, some sort of dead creature. If I put that discovery before the choice. So as I step forward, I notice what I thought were branches are in fact dried fingers. And that happens before you choose what to do next. If I had just left it at like, investigate the branches, people might be like, well, why would I do that? And then the majority of people would go investigate the building instead. And so you kind of are not getting a lot of return for the branch that you're making, because you're not presenting it as an equally valid and interesting option. So thinking about why people would choose to investigate the fingers versus the building, like the fingers are kind of like creepy and haunting, and there's like a lot of mystery there. So maybe people who are going more towards that like morbid fascination route would like to choose to investigate fingers, whereas for the building, maybe I can add some more description to that building, because I think it would be interesting. Maybe some people are looking for more like archaeological signs, so maybe I could make the building a little more interesting that way. So a building maybe inset with gemstones, I imagine, for that bright burst of red, I can just barely make out other structures alongside it. It seems to be a gathering space. Okay, so the fingers path promises like to satisfy your morbid curiosity. The building path promises kind of like a picture of the social or the society that's been going on. So yeah, I like that choice structure. Okay, so landing, we're going to put this in here. Again, not perfect yet, but that's okay. Let's see. And then choose to investigate fingers. I'm gonna kind of leave it here, and maybe other authors can choose to contribute more in this area. Okay. Let's check on our images quickly. This, it seems like one's generating. This feels like very cactusy in the background. Do we have anything that's like good inspiration for our desert planet? You know, I kind of played myself because I'm describing the whole planet as like brown, 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 but then I had the images generate with saturated colors. But I do say it's like, I think it's visually more interesting. This I like for the mood. I like, it feels like there's this weird sunset. There's like a kind of bush that's kind of life. And there's a lonely figure here. So maybe something like this image, but like without all this stuff in the background, it just kind of goes flat into the horizon. That could be really interesting. You know what would be cool is like if I could, yeah, upload an image into this particular scene. I don't know if that's something that people would necessarily want, but I think that would be interesting. So I'm going to put that as a future request. Upload image to scene. Just kind of like an illustration. You know how in like storybooks there will be just randomly illustrated sections. This is interesting. You know, I'm kind of wondering, I'm like looking at these images and being like, that's not exactly what I envisioned, but like what do I envision? This could be a really interesting mysterious structure. It looks like it's like weeping. These are populated deserts. It looks like it's like weeping. So it could be some sort of like weeping gate. That's interesting. You know, I'm gonna actually, okay. Once this ends, I'm going to write, oh, there's a person's face here. I'm going to add like empty desert. Maybe it'll generate images that are a little less populated. But to be fair, like deserts are also often have plants in them because that's how life works. We're tenacious. Okay. Okay. I'm going to choose to investigate this building and develop this end a little more. Let's see. As I approach the building, it glints more. Could it be that this entire building is covered in gemstones? But no, I realize that the building itself is, as approachability, it glints more. It's a strange combination of dull and bright. Almost in random combinations. I realize that the building itself is bright, but it's been covered in dull sand. When I approach its base, I brush some of the sand off and it gleams. Okay, not the best prose here, but assuming we're going to rewrite it at some point. Okay, let's end this in saying empty desert. And maybe I'll take away unsaturated colors as much as it's interesting. Okay, let's see. This is cool. It kind of looks like a giant... It looks like a piano made of fabric that has legs and is like walking around. There's also kind of an eye over here. This could be an interesting creature. It also kind of has a skull face. Okay. Yeah, the way the dull sand covers everything reminds me of a volcanic disaster when the smoke sets down and leaves the dust everywhere. Yeah, I think that's quite interesting. Maybe it was a volcano. Let's see. Yeah, maybe it's not sand, but it's dust, or it's like some sort of combination. That would be interesting. You know, I actually, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I don't really like this jewelry section. Or at least it could be more interesting. It's just kind of like, oh, it's a building full of jewelry, but there's nothing you can really do with that, especially because narratively Leica is a dog, so she's not gonna wear jewelry. So let's see what co-creator has for us while we're waiting for it to generate. This is interesting. This is kind of lonely. Okay. And I'm disconnected. Ooh, the building is a series of rooms arranged in a ring around a central space. Let's just keep generating. I might need a couple words to prompt co-creator not to create a new branch. Oh, these are some other reference images. I accidentally clicked on this. Ooh, this is such an interesting little creature. It looks like it's like a four-legged creature of some sort, or like the back of a bee, but it has a little face. I like this a lot. I like this image. Just like a lonely little guy like waiting. It's not entirely humanoid. This one's kind of strange and moody. It feels like someone's profile photo. Okay, we're back. The ring is broken in several places and the rooms don't line up with one another. I like that. That's so interesting. It's almost as if someone has torn this building apart. Ooh. I noticed that the rooms contain strange machines like the ones I saw on the ship, but more advanced. They seem to be made of glass and metal and some other material I don't recognize. I noticed that some of the machines are missing parts and some seem damaged. That's interesting. I'm going to take away the part from the ship, but otherwise, like, that's pretty fascinating. As I walk among the ruins, I see more and more of the strange machines. They're all over the place. They're broken in many places, covered in sand and dirt, but they're unmistakable. They're from Earth. They must have been brought. That is really interesting. So it's like, maybe it was another civilization that branched off from Earth. I really like that. Okay, so I'm going to change this to choose to investigate rune machines, but I really like this sequence. This is really cool. It's not what I thought it would be, but sometimes you gotta go in with no expectations. So, okay. Let's add, create subbranch, investigate, building. Okay. So, and this is also like a nice hefty chunk of writing. Desert. Investigate ruined machines. I have to be consistent with my capitalization. Okay. They must have been brought over. This is so cool. Okay, this is fantastic. So yeah. So we've got a great sequence. There's a desert planet. There's a building. We have maybe an explanation for what happened that turned this place into desert. Maybe war. Maybe it's normal and it's a graveyard. Who knows? And then now we have some rune machines suggesting that this civilization originally spanned from Earth. Something I think that would be cool to do is, in the theme of Laika slowly dying, is like have a limited amount of exploration that the player can do. So it's like, oh, you can only visit 4 branches before she dies, and like this ends. In some ways, that's kind of like, I don't want it to feel too limiting, but it could be a cool thing of like you have to choose what you really want to see, and go through multiple iterations. Oh yes, I do read the chat, but and I don't know Portuguese, but I would love to learn Portuguese. So what was I saying? Yeah, so we kind of have a reason for why the civilization disappeared. And eventually we want to work our way up to be able to meet some of these sentinels. You know what this looks like? This looks like the spiders with the faces on their butt. I don't know if y'all have seen these things. Spiders with butt faces. Okay. Yeah, like like this sort of spider has a face on its butt. That's what this kind of looks like. But I kind of like that it's like, I was thinking of it as like a standing up like I don't know, very humanoid figure, but I kind of like it looking like this. Maybe I'll upload this as the cover for the story. For now. I could also generate a series of like dog and spaceship. But for now, let's keep this as default. Oh, this one's interesting too. I really like this like piece of some sort of structure just jutting out into the ocean. Maybe that could be another thing that we add. So maybe you also see, let's see, behind the building is another lower structure jutting out from the sand. It seems like it might have been a storage room of some kind. So this image it has like a hole in the top. That's kind of interesting. It makes me think of like structures that they use to that ancient peoples would use to like track the sun or something like that. It's got kind of like a pyramid feeling, there is a hole at the top, angled at a specific position that feels significant. None of this writing is very subtle right now. Fletch, I'm glad you think this is interesting. I hope you can get something out of this. And your English is very good. So yeah, my writing is very on the nose right now. There's a hole at the top. It feels significant. But on the one hand, we're just getting content out here. We can always refine it later. And if people like it, they'll choose it. On the other hand, because it is interactive, it can be a little more on the nose than something that you're just passively reading. So I don't know. We'll see if it works. Um, the cool thing about this is that ideally there's going to be a lot of readers and they're going to be able to choose the branches that they enjoy the most. And then as a writer, you'll be able to figure out, oh, this is interesting to people. I'm going to develop it. Okay. So that's a cool thing. This looks like a Slurpee that I'm viewing through fabric. I kind of like this figure too. It has eyes. It looks like a little ghost in some fabric. And it looks like it's kind of got some weird locomotion thing going on. Maybe, I was thinking all the sentinels are the same for this world. They're all just standing there, and they're all kind of like mechanical, automatic. But it would be so interesting if each sentinel was different. And like the encounter with each sentinel is its own branch. So it's almost like a series of like boss battles, or it's kind of like the culmination of each region is its own sentinel. So maybe this one is like the desert, or the cloth sentinel. It's just billowing. And then let's see, where is the other one? This one is kind of like like a transportation one. It used to, transport things. What's that, like the stag bug from Hollow Knight? Yeah, I'm Chinese American. But I grew up in the US and I've only visited China a few times. But yeah, so like the stag beetle guy, he's like a guy who transports people. It seems pretty similar. So maybe there's one who is like kind of, this one's like the economy. That's a sad sentinel that like the economy is gone. Whereas, yeah, there's like this one kind of does something else. This AI really loves to generate like little hollow faces. Even like, look at this, even this little building has a face. It's like 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Let's see if there's any other interesting ones. There could be a humanoid one as well. I think the image of like a tall, lonely figure standing there is very compelling. Seems like there's like a kind of fountain or something in the distance. So these are the images that I'm really liking so far for this piece. I'm going to delete a few of the other ones. Ooh, actually, I kind of don't mind that one. This one, this one, this one. This one I don't quite think is it. This one looks like a really fascinating painting. This one I can't quite tell. This is, I feel like, not the right mood. Okay. So I think I'm gonna, yeah, delete these and, whew, this is a cool image. Once this is done, I'm gonna stop this. So I think we have some pretty good material. The story is really branching. We're finding the building space is adorable. Yeah, we're finding like a lot of we have a lot of leads for this story, and the nice thing about Dream Lounge is like when you've got an interesting path, you can just let it be. You can just come back to visit it later or have someone else do it. So normally, after writing something like this, I'd feel like, oh, there's so many ways it could have gone. I feel like I'm not done. But in this one, it's like, this is the work. The work is a bunch of interesting threads that other people can pick up and people can enjoy and wonder about. So that's something that's really cool about Dream Lounge that I'm really admiring. But I'm going to wrap it up for today, and I hope that I can see y'all again Saturday morning or next week sometime. So thanks for joining me, and by the time you see me again, there'll be some more developments on this story. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Bye-bye.